Welcome back. This year marks the 60th anniversary of the outbreak of the Korean War, which erupted on June 25th. During the 1950-53 war, soldiers from the U.S.-led United Nations Command, consisting of 17 countries, fought alongside South Korean troops against Communist North Korea that was supported by China and the former Soviet Union. The war, which ended in an armistice, eventually claimed the lives of hundreds of thousands of soldiers and civilians and divided the Korean peninsula along the 38th parallel.
And recently, the Korean government invited a group of war veterans from Commonwealth countries as a token of appreciation for their sacrifice during the Korean War. Reporter Kim Nari is here in the studio to tell us more. Welcome, Nari.
Hello. It was an interesting week for me following around those war veterans, listening to their personal stories of the war. What could be more real than talking to the Korean war veterans to hear about what it was like at the time? As Korea marks the 60th anniversary of the Korean War, the government has invited about 2,400 war veterans this year to thank them for their sacrifice and dedication to South Korea's freedom. For about a week, veterans from Britain, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand visited former battlefields, and I have been following them around to share their interesting stories with you. Looking far away over the fields of North Korea, many thoughts are rushing through the heads of these war veterans. That is the land they fought on back in the 1950s, and it is the place where many friends heroically died and were buried. These Korean war veterans have returned to the country they fought for 60 years ago, and they have so much to share.
My brother was killed here, and we made a pact when we were boys that if one ever died in battle, the other would take his place. We did it just as boys, and it came to pass that it happened that way. And so I volunteered to come, and I came to Korea for that reason. And he's buried in North Korea, and I never did get to his gravesite. But that's what I had hoped to do, and it didn't happen.
It has been 6 decades since these Commonwealth veterans came back to the land they fought for. The aging former soldiers, some of them in wheelchairs, marched towards the Korean War Memorial in Gapyeong, the site of the 4-day battle in 1951, where they successfully fended off Chinese forces supporting the Communist North. 83-year-old Canadian Kim Reynolds recalled the moment when the other Canadian platoon on the ridge came under attack from Chinese troops.
We heard a lot of shooting and firing up above us. And we didn't know where actually they were because we're dug in, it's dark, we don't know what's going on.
British veteran William Speakman shared his story of the battle. He won Britain's highest military medal, the Victoria Cross, for leading over 10 grenade charges against the enemy and saving the lives of many comrades despite his severe injuries. His battalion of around 600 soldiers came under attack from about 6,000 Chinese, which is said even included hand-to-hand fighting.
When the action started, there were so many Chinese that they came out of the ground, and there were so many of them that at first it was hand-to-hand. You had to sort them out.
In addition to stories of brutal battles, some remember the war victims who languished in great pain.
It was a very, very poor country. We personally, we all felt very sorry for the thousands of refugees who were displaced by the war and who suffered terribly.
42 Canadian veterans were eagerly welcomed by the students of Yeoncheon Nogok Elementary School, the school they helped to establish after the conclusion to the war. The former soldiers were thrilled to see how well the school is doing. Mervyn Fedwick, who served in the Forces Dental Corps for a couple of years towards the end of the Korean War, was excited to tell how his troops fundraised for the Korean children at the time. With no doubt, Korean children hold special meaning to him.
But those kids were really sharp. It just took your heart away. You had to make sure that you did as much as possible instead of just sitting there doing nothing.
Over at the Korean War Memorial Museum in Seoul, a copper plate commemorating Australian troops' participation in the war was unveiled in front of about 40 Australian veterans.
Our squadron, number 77 Squadron, has a long association with Korea. So we were the main Air Force squadron from Australia in the Korean War from 1950 until 1954. So it's a very historic occasion for us to come here.
Australia sent 17,000 troops to Korea only 5 days after the outbreak of the war 60 years ago, in which 41 soldiers lost their lives. The ceremony took place not only to pay respect to the veterans, but also to reaffirm ties between the two countries, as for most of these aging soldiers, Korea holds a special place in their hearts.
Well, there was one bridge, just one bridge over the Han River, and that's where the Mama Sans used to go with kids and would do the washing, you know.
When I look back, I think we did the right thing coming here, because the world would be different today if we hadn't have come.
With a soulful sound of Scottish bagpipes filling the air, the British veteran enters the monument of the Battle of the Imjin River. Derek Keeney, who was awarded Britain's George Cross for his resistance while in Chinese captivity, experienced brutal torture for more than 2 years.
I was captured by the Chinese and I served. I was a prisoner of war for 2.5 years. It was just a furious battle. There was a lot of Chinamen all over the place and you just kept shooting them and they kept popping up. And you shoot them again.